Hey guys, welcome to Finding Home. I had a funny joke, but the first time it fucked up, so here we are. Okay, so welcome back. This is a place where we're just trying to be open, vulnerable, crazy about stuff. I'm Seth, that's Diego, there's Annalise. Nick's doing his homework, he'll be in a little bit. And, we're just trying to create a community of loving acceptance and all that fun joy. So if you're tuning in, stay tuning in, because we're going to talk about some interesting shit. We have a little bowl full of things, and we're going to pull out a thing, and we're going to figure out what that thing is, and then we're going to talk about it, and it's going to be wonderful.
God, I love things.
Yeah, things are the shit. So if you want to hang around for things, please like, subscribe, all that fun shit, so you can just keep watching us do this. But if you hate us already, you should probably tune out, or just take some time. You'll get to know us. You'll love us. It's fine, because we love you too, because that's important.
Maybe
so,
not me.
I don't know. All right, well, welcome to the show. We need to make an intro song. All right, we'll do that.
So I have this fun little bowl of topics. Seth
wait,
is gonna do
hold
the
on.
honors.
How was your day?
Oh, it's fantastic.
What'd you do?
Well, I went to work today. It was great. I was bamboozled by a stranger.
Tell us about that.
Had another great conversation though with one stranger. She was basically talking to me about, her life. Had a kid at 17. Is now 25.
Mm-hmm.
She actually died having her second kid, and they revived her. And some days
That's insane.
she actually has a lot of health issues because of it.
Did she talk about death and what that experience was like, or did you even get to that point?
No, that almost kind of seemed like a topic that was not ready to dive into.
So it's like she still hasn't resolved
this
it.
person.
But I also just met her, so maybe she didn't want to talk about dying with a stranger. But
That's the difference between you and me. I'm like, you almost died. What was that like? I'd be right up in them.
Knock on someone's door 10 minutes later. So what was death like for you?
Well, so
you died just to meet God.
Well, she has a lot of health issues now because of it. So she says some days she wakes up, she loses all feeling in her legs. She can't walk. She has rheumatoid arthritis. She has a lot of health issues.
The nerve.
And so she decides to talk to me, a stranger, for 20 minutes about living life like you can never get the moment back.
You got that vibe though. I just tell you shit.
Yeah, no. She was basically explaining, nowadays I'm grateful when I can wake up and just walk, because some days that's not possible for me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, the fact that I died and was revived just kind of made me realize I want to live every single day appreciating every second of it, being grateful, staying positive, and I don't want to be some old fart who's has so many regrets and is negative about everything and is holding grudges against people, harboring all this negative energy.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about positivity.
I want to make you think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say completely random note. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the SpongeBob movie of Atlantis where they have
I love that SpongeBob movie.
Every time somebody says old fart, I literally think of the world's oldest bubble, and I just don't know why it comes into
my favorite part is the very end when they're singing "I Wanna Rock" and Patrick is doing the splits and fishnets.
Oh my god.
That's just
that was Goofy Goober.
That was
Goofy Goober. I'm a Goofy Goober.
No,
rock.
That was a different movie.
That was the one with David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
There's a different SpongeBob
No,
movie?
there's one where it's like a cartoon.
It's just one of the episodes?
I think it's...
Well, SpongeBob is a cartoon.
No, I'm saying, but it's not like a movie like that. It was just like some random arc in the show.
Oh.
But they go to Atlantis in the actual show. There's a bunch of different people. There's a vault full of gold and stuff like that. But no, you're talking about Shell City. That's what it is.
Shell City, bro. Shell City, bitch.
Okay, completely off topic, but
okay.
So let's actually stay on topic. What is
all right? Yeah, let's pick a topic should I pull it out of the bowl? Do you want to pull it out of the bowl, or you're the creator of the bowl? So I feel like someone different should pull it out of the bowl.
Seth, do the honors.
All right, guys. So
we could all pull one out and then just have that be the whole thing.
All right. How about this? We'll pull one out, go as long as we can, and we feel like when we pull another one, do another. That way we don't feel overwhelmed. Yeah, so for you guys, since we don't have video or anything yet, we have a bowl.
We're all standing butt naked around this giant water bowl filled.
Yeah, and I can't stop flapping my dick and balls against my body. So we have this bowl full of topics. And whatever one we pick is the one we got to talk about. The reason that we chose to do this is because we can't prepare for it. We just got to kind of say what we feel.
Look in the bowl.
I'm not looking in the bowl.
I'm
Fuck.
holding it
All right,
over here
hold on.
now.
All right, this one. No, that one doesn't feel right. Hold on, I gotta turn the other way.
Feel the same.
I gotta turn the other way because I am looking at him now. No, you said something I'm trying. Oh, okay.
Cards and cards.
Is this one?
There you
Is
go.
this
There
one?
you go.
All right, so we'll have to tell Nick when he gets here. I guess this follows the last topic pretty well. The last conversation we had. What is an adult?
Ha! Little did you guys know, it's
no,
not someone who's old.
Yeah, no, it's someone that stops playing.
It's
Someone that stops playing games. Or not stops playing games, but stops having fun. Is when it's like, okay, are we talking about adult as in like, you are now super mature? Or like...
The question is, what is an adult, man? And so I guess it's whatever you come up with in your head.
Yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. It's
supposed to
it's
stay
not
young forever. So I feel like an adult is kind of just the society's way of saying someone that is older, or like physically older, because not like
someone's lost.
Well, there's a bunch of different
lost their childlike wonder.
It's like it's like a couple different words that you could sort of use in a bunch of different contexts. Like adult is one of those words that like you can, if you talk about an adult on an aging spectrum, like an adult is someone that gets past the ages of the teen years and is now past the pubescent stage, and now they're kind of like fully grown into an individual for the most part. And so it's kind of their sexual prime is what you'd call an adult. Like I think in ecology and sort of biology, you talk about an adult male, adult female as someone who's genetically ready to reproduce. Which, if you think about that on a human level, women can reproduce at like 13 or younger now. So it's just like you can't look at it on age really, because like reproductively, a woman is an adult at. Women and men are both adults at the age of the moment they hit puberty, if you look at an age level. But we're different animals and we think of things in different ways. Mm-hmm. And so an adult for us is somebody who, I don't know, gets out of the school system or I don't know, because people in college are adults, so it can't be that. So it's just like
someone who, like, everyone has a different definition, but I think society's definition of an adult is someone who is, financially independent, financially stable, maturity-wise, more age. But I'm saying society's definition of an adult means, financially stable, providing for themselves.
Hold on, before we Google it, and let the world tell us what it means. We got to try to figure this out by ourselves to see like how close we can actually get to what an adult actually is, and then we can compare that to what the world says, because the world is the internet and it's going to say what it wants us to hear. But I think an adult is somebody who is independent of their parents. Somebody who is fully independent of their parental figures. I think that's what an adult technically would be.
So a self-sufficient, like self-reliant person.
Yeah.
Society, in terms of maturity, society also wants to label adults as people who are mature.
So it's also easier to slap an age on it, I feel like, rather than being like, if you believe, once you now see the world like this, or have experienced this.
Once you get the decision to buy lottery tickets, you're a fucking adult.
Yeah. So I feel like it's easier just to slap an age on it, because at that point, when you slap an age on it, it's like a concrete, actual thing. Now it's like, you are not an adult until considered this. So now it's just as easy.
Dumb.
But we do that though because we create laws around people that are still children and give them adult responsibilities.
Yeah, exactly. We have to discriminate because there are so many like slight differences and all this stuff. Romeo and Juliet law, stuff like that.
But maturity and intelligence wise, every single person on this planet is at a different stage of their maturity and intelligence at the same age.
Bro, but I've seen some 4-year-olds give adult questions.
Yeah, there are 16-year-olds who have incredible intelligence, incredible maturity, can even be considered more successful.
Who came up with this question?
Well,
this is Nick.
Well, if you look at it in terms of like independence-wise, there's 12-year-olds on YouTube that are millionaires.
Yeah.
So what? Does that not make them an adult?
Well, technically, with their skill set, they've become financially independent of their parents, but by law, their parents have their money.
So an adult is purely just the law.
Adults aren't real. We're all just children forever.
I mean, you're supposed to stay young forever. That's the whole point. So
people who lose their childlike wonder are miserable. Miserable, old, regretful.
That's a very, very big.
You went real dark there for a second. What did you say? No, it's good, but say that again because like.
I just think people, in my opinion, I'm not assuming. In my opinion, I think people who have lost all sense of like childlike wonder tend to be the most miserable.
That is why
they're regretful.
It's funny that you say that.
They're old and angry and cynical.
The one thing I decided in my life, and I forgot that like I believe this so heavily, and it's a tenet from my life, but I just forgot to bring this up. But now that you said that, like childlike wonder, the one thing I've always promised to myself that I'll never let anyone take away is that I'll always keep my 4-year-old curiosity. Is that like I'll never let that leave me, because that is what gives me the most profound answers in my life, is when I keep that 4-year-old curiosity to be able to ask the questions when no one else will. And I think a lot of people are afraid of that because like that could be dangerous. It's not only dangerous, like people might think to extremes, like if you ask the wrong questions in the wrong places, you'll get killed. Well, it's not likely like that in most of the world today. It's more so like if you ask the wrong questions at the wrong place, you're just going to get ostracized and sort of shamed for asking a question.
In America, there are some places that...
There's places in the world that will kill you if you're asking the wrong questions. Yeah. I'm not saying that doesn't still exist. I'm saying we as American, Western, civilized people, because like I feel like in this Western world, like we have a very not very well adapted perspective to how the rest of the world actually works. And I'm thinking that as a majority. I know there's people that travel the world, like there are definitely plenty of people in the Western society that understand how the world functions because they've been around it. But like majority of our population, I think in each country is the same. I went to South Africa, like they don't talk about America there. And I'm in Australia, they don't talk about America there, they talk about Australia. And India talks about India, and England talks about England. And so it's like we're all just talking about ourselves. We don't know what's going on in the rest of the world. But like there are some places that still have these like mindsets that we would consider barbaric and that we would consider as like cruelty against humanity, which it is. But at the same time, it's just like we're so focused on what we're doing and they're so focused on what they're doing that like they wouldn't even know really the difference. And so it's just like, and maybe they do know the difference, but they're trapped, and like that's what's fucked up. And like, yet
that's the worst part is when you know that what you're doing is wrong, instead of like still being blindsided by it, but continuing.
But yeah, it's just like I think there's a lot of problems in our country that we focus on that like we feel are important because they are important to the society we live. But at the same time, like if you're really going to have this savior complex about the world, trying to do things, like you gotta realize that like don't try to be the savior of the world. Try to be the savior of the problem that you're in and stay in your lane, because there's always something worse than what you're focusing on. And it's just like the people that focus on the most worst thing like are miserable because it's the most worst thing, because at the same time it's the hardest thing to fix. That's why it's the most worst thing, because things that we can fix get better. Like the most worst thing is the thing that we can't fix. And like to everybody, I think that's subjective. And I think most of us have this idea of how we want to do things and how we want to try to go about our lives and give ourselves purpose. And we all have a little bit of a savior complex, some more than others, but it's about what we think is the worst thing, is the worst evil that we need to fix. And if we try to fix that thing, we succeed in at least a little bit fixing that thing and passing off that job to someone else, like that can fulfill our lives. But at the same time, like we deserve the right to take the world off of our shoulders for a second and see that like it's more than just this place you're standing. It's more than just the country you're living in. Like if you look up, there's fucking stars and there's fucking billions of planets and solar systems and everything, and you're just like, wow. It's absolutely phenomenal that I live in this space of like infinite capacity. And
I can do whatever
I've been looking down at my feet the whole time. And like the more you come to understand science and the more you come to understand the world, you get confused for a while, and you're confused a little bit all the time, but you realize that that's part of it, because you have to keep this 4-year-old curiosity and you have to keep asking those questions. Because if you don't keep asking those questions, you're just going to grow up and die. But I personally would rather die on my deathbed still asking about something I'm curious of than to think I know everything and be greeted with this sort of magnificent experience of life not even life, this experience of the universe that comes upon you and teaches you all things in one moment, and to think that I was so infinitely small, to think that I was completely right about everything I thought in the world, when you'll be blasted away. And then I think that's where reincarnation sort of exists, is that we're in this place and we're like, well, that was a fun sort of experiment. That was the fun little algorithm I was a part of. I kind of fucked up at a few places, and I kind of want to try that again. What rules and stipulations am I going to set for myself in this next sort of incarnation, and what can I see if I can learn from it? It's like, are we in the thing that I don't know?
It's just one big game of Skyrim.
It's one big game of Skyrim. That's why I love that game.
Skyrim
so it's just like it's this constant game of the universe creating its own character. Like, that's why they talk about God and they talk about creation. It's because God created the world in his image, but there's so many infinite images of what God could be. And so it's like, does God even exist? And that's, a lot of people live with that question, and a lot of people say, I don't know. A lot of people say, fuck no, he doesn't exist. It's all just probability and it's math. But like, where do you think fucking math comes from? Like, if math is something that we create, it means it had to be created, because we can only understand that which was created because we have a creational mindset. And so like, when we think of God as a creator, we have to think of God as a creator, because if we don't conceive anything that creates us, we think that we're the creators. And so it's just like, we kind of are. We kind of do those things, but I don't know.
100%.
And I think kids understand all this, and it's why they're fucking all over the place.
Yeah.
Because they have this infinite understanding, but they're in this place that you're trying to like say, this is how this game works. And they're just like, wait a minute, what? All the time. And they're just, wait a minute, what? Wait a minute, what? And then all of a sudden they're in middle school, their body's changing, they're confused, and they're like, wait a minute, what? And then everybody's mean to each other, and then we get trauma from kids bullying us, and then we get older and we're sad a little bit because we're like, why did they treat us this way? And you got to figure that out. There's some people that don't, there's some people that do. And the people that don't kind of get sad, they stay that way, and they kind of crumple in a fetal ball in positions in their house because they're so overwhelmed by how people treated them. But there's other people that realize like, oh, people are just mean to other people because they're hurt too. And like, maybe I should just try to be the one thing that changes to not hurt people. And maybe if I just stop choosing to hurt people but try to like listen to people and help people out, maybe we'll be fine.
Maybe we will be fine.
I'm gonna create a mini-verse.
You already did.
I'm gonna create
That's
a
what he's saying.
mini-verse.
I can smell it.
You
over here.
You've already did. It's
The
already
mini-verse?
existing, and you're in one of them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Life is just a reflection of yourself. Everything is just literally a mirror.
What?
I'm gonna create a mini-verse.
We're gonna have to let Nick do a rant when he comes in, because we're gonna have to like repeat all these questions to him. Just be like,
You
oh,
just
no.
don't go off. Like let your heart pour out.
Yeah.
But
But it's funny how we use like adulting. Like, I'm adulting. I'm doing this thing. I'm adulting. Like, there's a genre of things in the term adulting that we just like go at, man.
There's definitely a tie between, like, people just think that adulting is a negative thing. Like, there's definitely a negative connotation with adulting. It's meant to be like, you have all these responsibilities now, and things are hard, and you have to deal with things by yourself, and you have to be independent, which is scary. So people just automatically associate adulting with being negative and being miserable. And that's kind of sad. I don't want to be a miserable adult.
Well, one thing I think is interesting is like in at least the world that I like, there's no defining moment. Like, there's no defining moment by which you become an adult. It's just like you are a kid, and then all of a sudden you're just given some things that you knew adults did when you were a kid, and you're like, oh, am I an adult now because I have this responsibility? Like, but go ahead. You have a thought.
No. I was thinking, like, I feel like you become an adult when you've deemed yourself an adult. But like, no, hold up, listen. You're going to do
I thought I was an adult when I was 10.
Yeah, no, but listen, you are going to do this at every step of your, like, at many steps of your life.
One point is just gonna be true.
And one time is you're just gonna actually feel it. And
is that what, like,
when you actually feel it, you're like, dude, I'm a fucking adult. And then, like, no, one time it's like everything just, you're super calm, and you're like, I'm an adult now.
But
and then, like, that's when you decide to change your life.
But then your ego,
Hold up, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're on a thing. Go.
I was just gonna say, when you decide to grow up, that's when you become an adult. So it's like, I have to become, serious. I have to, provide. Something big happens, and you now become a very I don't want to say valuable, but like
you become an asset.
An asset.
You become an asset to the program.
Yeah, exactly. Well, to the family as well. So it's like you have to do these things. So once you take in this responsibility of like my actions create my future.
I think okay. So
when you become an
here
adult,
you made a good point. I think we're just looking at adult the wrong way. Like adult isn't something you become. Adult is something when something goes away. So like I think when you're an adult, it's when your childhood goes away.
Yeah.
And so I think it's much easier to define what childhood is than to define what adulting is.
Yeah.
Because like adulting is this infinite expanse, but childhood's this little like precious thing.
Yeah.
I don't think.
So what is childhood?
I don't think you can define either of them though, because it's all perspective.
Yeah,
to me, I could feel like I'm an adult. Like Diego said, at one point in my life, I'm gonna feel like this is it. I feel it. I bring stuff to the table. I'm an adult. But to someone else looking at me and my maturity level and all other aspects of my life, they might not think I'm an adult.
Right, because that's subjective to when they lost their childhood relative to when you lost your childhood.
Yeah, that's when they think like you have to experience what I've experienced.
Because if I became an adult at 12 and you became an adult at 23, then we're going to have different perspectives on life.
Yeah.
Like it's very easy to meet people like that. Be like, I think we should ask random people whenever we meet, like, hey, when do you think you became an adult? Like, what age do you think you became an adult? I'm gonna start asking people that. I'm like, just as a question.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Actually. That's a very.
So if you're listening right now, I'm gonna put it in the comments. When do you think that you became an adult? At what age did you become an adult? And if you want to share why, share why. I would love to hear this perspective because it's something that I'm curious about. But let's get back to childhood. So everybody's childhood's different, of course, but what are the fundamental sort of aspects of childhood that
the lack of responsibility.
In
terms of like you don't have to do anything. Your existence is more for your own kind of desire.
You're here trying to figure it out, and everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Mistake wise or learning wise, it's a lot about learning, whereas I feel like as an adult it's more about perfecting what you've learned, because as a kid you're learning like who you are, what kind of people you don't and do like to be around. You're figuring out
well, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it might just be almost like a sensation of vibration that people believe but that occurs to people at different times.
Right.
So like you could be 45 and you can just like look at a toy and be like, I want to buy this and I'm gonna go have fun today. Yeah. And then at 20 you can just be like, I have to be the sole provider of whatever situation I'm doing. I have to have all these responsibilities. But that same 20-year-old a month earlier could have just been playing video games like he was when he was being an unresponsible kid.
Well, that's funny too. Is like you can have responsible adults that still play video games and have fun. It's like, what's interesting is that like I don't think you ever become an adult. I think it's just a sensation of because like it's a mindset.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset that you become. And what's funny is like we get.
And then you can change mindsets back. To whenever like it just comes.
Given I'm only 26 years old, I know a lot of people that are way older than me. And they've been through life, and I feel like I try to respect. So, like, at each person that has age, because I've had this argument before with, like, exes and friends, and it's just, like, especially that were younger, and I did when I was younger, it's like, wisdom isn't correlational to age, but I think at the same time it is. Because there's a wisdom that comes through time that you cannot get unless you've spent time. And so it's just, like, I try to respect everybody that's older than me. Just because, like, if they're 1 year older than me, then okay, probably not too much. But, like, I'm talking 7 years, 10 years, 40 years. Like, you kind of respect that difference because there's things that they've seen. And they'll talk about, when you talk to someone that's, like, 50 or 60 years older than you, in general, they're just going to talk about the events that happened in their life. But the best thing that you can do as a young person talking to an older person is understand the system of how it created them. Understand like how this process of time has created who they are as a person, and that takes a deep understanding, and it takes some time to really figure out like how people work. But if you sort of see it like that and don't see it as the objective subjective story that they're telling, but see how they develop and how much they know in at 60 years old than you know at 26 years old. Like, just what are the things that they've learned? And sometimes you may realize that, like, oh, like, I realized something at 26 that someone at 60 didn't realize until they were 55.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, like, I'm glad I know this, because this is an actual lesson of life. And the thing, and they can just, if you just listen, they can tell you things that you don't know. Everybody has that capability, whether you're asking a 4-year-old kid or a 75-year-old man. You can get some sort of knowledge and universal sort of gift of experience from a perspective that you completely unexpect. And so it's like, I just expect everyone to tell me something I don't know. And so it's just like, if they don't tell me something that I don't know, I'll just let them keep trying until they don't. Like, it's like, you don't have to rub anybody off because they have wrong ideas. It's like, I think a lot of people get very virtuous. And I'm talking a lot, but I'm going for it. It's like, so I think people get very virtuous here, where they see that they know something before someone knows it. And so when they say it to them, they're like, I already know that. And it's just like, that's such a childish thing to do. But like, we all kind of do it in our own way. And you have to have that filter in your mind to not do that. And just be like, okay, like, I see you know the same thing I know, cool. Rather than being like, I knew that before you. You know, that's not how you want to be.
What is your final say on this, Annalise? What is adult? I think adult mindset.
I think adult is perspective. It's all perspective. You can't. There's no definition for what makes you an adult or a child. It's different to everybody. But if you feel like you're an adult, then to you, you're an adult. If other people don't view you as one, that's on them. However they choose to see you. But if you feel like you're an adult, then that's what matters. That's what your definition is. So that's what impacts your life. What you think of yourself.
Does anyone ever say to a kid that you're acting adultish? Because I think adults hear all the time you're acting childish. And it's just like, you know, I guess there's positive and negative aspects to being a child, but it's just like, that's perspective too. It's because like, it's not really negative if you're learning. It's only negative if you know and then you're doing it out of spite. Like, I don't think kids, for the most part in their childhood, like, they don't act out of spite. Like, it's not really spite that they do it. It's like, it's just reaction from a lack of knowing. It's just like when you become older and like you've gone through this cycle over and over again, and you're like, this isn't right, but I'm gonna do it because it's gonna piss them off. Yeah, because I'm pissed off.
It's different when you're doing something wrong and you didn't know it was wrong versus you doing something wrong and you wholeheartedly knowing it's wrong.
Yeah, when you do it with malicious intent.
Yeah, exactly. Just making it rain on yourself and random.
Make it rain with all those
topics.
I've been playing with this paper this entire time.
What are your love languages? Are you physical touch?
What?
Do you know what your love languages are?
What does that mean?
You never heard of love languages?
No.
Okay, so there's 5 primary love languages, and everybody has a primary one, and most of the time a little secondary one. So I'll kind of go through them and explain them for you, and you can kind of figure out which one you are. And then the book's free on YouTube too. You just type in 5 love languages. It's a whole book. It's a whole audio book. Guy has a nice southern twang to him. It's very nice. But there's 5 love languages. There's physical touch, quality time, gift giving, acts of service, and words of affirmation.
I like doing all those things and receiving all those things.
So I'm going to go through them and I'm going to kind of explain each one, and you're going to say which one of them is the most, when you think about it, which one makes you the most fulfilled. Like, if you were to receive this from Diego, your boyfriend, your man Candy, if he was to do this thing for you, this is going to make you feel the most fulfilled. You have to choose which one would make you feel the most happy, okay?
But then I want to hear what he thinks mine
Right,
is.
his love language is probably different.
Yours are?
Yeah, what you think mine are.
Okay.
No, you need to say your...
I'll do mine first, but I also want to hear what he thinks mine are, just based off how I act.
Okay. Sounds good. But when you probably say yours, they might make sense. You might agree. Okay, so for physical touch, I'll just do examples for each of these. So, physical touch, you're doing dishes, he walks up behind you, gives you a hug, and says, I love you. That's physical touch. Well, it's mixed with some words of affirmation, but the physical touch part is like he just wraps his arm around you from behind you, and it's just like giving you affection. That's the physical touch.
Hugging, cuddling.
Right, cuddling, anything like that. Quality time. He just chooses instead of doing something else to sit next to you on the couch and just be around you. Like, just chooses to be around you. Like, if you're doing something and he doesn't have to be there, but he's choosing to be there because he wants to be around you, quality time. Okay. Then we have gift giving. So like if he just gets you a sentimental present, if he makes something for you, or he sings a song about you, some shit like that crazy. Like it's a gift giving. Then we have acts of service. You're having a busy day. You're really stressed out, and you know that like it would really help me out if like this got done, and he just like asked you if you needed help and then did it for you. That's an act of service. He's doing something to help make your life easier. And then the last one is words of affirmation. It's just him giving you good, positive sort of feelings of like, hey, like you're my best friend. I think you're amazing. Like you're really great when you speak this way. Like I really appreciate you as a person. Words of affirmation. And so like out of those 5, pick which one do you think would make you feel the most fulfilled. You have to think about your love as like this tank. And so like when you receive love from Diego, it fills your tank. Which one of those love bursts will give you the most fulfillment inside of that tank? What's the primary one?
I want to say the primary one is quality time.
Just him. I knew you got all sort of sappy when I talked about quality time.
Yeah, but like, I also felt like though, I wanted to say words of affirmation because those are highly appreciated. That's your second one. But I feel like my true second one is physical touch, because it's the same thing as quality time. Like just the physical affection when it's not even needed.
Because quality time can be like this. This can be quality time. You're in the same room, but you want the quality you want the quality time with the closeness of physical touch.
Because that's like same thing. The unasked for, occasional show of affection.
Yeah.
Is huge, and even though it's seen as physical, it's more than that. It's this person. I didn't even have to ask, but this person knew that little bit of affection
it makes you feel literally attractive.
Yeah. Well,
because I attracted this person in.
But not even like same thing. Not even in a physical way, but just in an emotional and mental kind of way.
Yeah.
You didn't even have to ask for it, but they chose to show you that little bit of affection when they didn't need to.
Right.
So I think that and quality time together would have to be like my 2.
Yeah, those are mine too, by the way. Like physical touch and quality time, those are my 2 favorite ones. Yeah.
What about you? What do you think mine are?
You can talk about yourself first if you want. What are yours, Diego? Doesn't have to be all about her all the time.
I know what his are immediately.
Well, mine are.
I know what yours are.
Don't let him say them. Don't you tell him.
Okay.
Do you need me to run through them again for you?
No.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
You just don't think too much about it. Words of affirmation. So don't think too much about it. Just quick off the head. Like which one just makes you feel loved? That's all you have to say. Like because you'll know.
2 and 4.
2 and 4.
2 and 4.
Shit, I forgot the order that I put them in.
Quality time.
And then
quality time and acts of service.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say acts of service.
That makes sense. You're a busy dude. Yeah, you put a lot on your plate. And so, like, I can understand, like, and it's why you're a fucking manager.
But I think the only slight difference in our quality time one is that when with me wanting quality time, there's talking involved. Yeah. But whereas when you want quality time, you appreciate me being there and my presence, but it doesn't have to be speaking.
Oh, so yours is like pure quality time. Yours is more so of quality time mixed in with words of affirmation. Because you feel affirmed when he addresses you and talks to you.
I want to hear what's in her head instead of what is projected out of her mouth.
Yeah, that's really
Wait, are they not the same thing? Do you have too many filters? What are you trying to say?
Not filters.
But like you want to hear what's in her head, but she has to let it out through her mouth.
No.
Can you read thoughts?
No. In terms of. With that phrase, so basically just more in terms of like, you can tell how somebody is when you just, let them kind of be in like this calm state. Yeah. And if she's like looks like, scared, like shaky, you can tell like that's how she internally actually feels. Or you can like, same thing when someone is happy, you can literally feel the radiance like coming off of this person. So you can tell that when it's just like a very quiet, intimate moment.
So you just like reading her energy.
Yeah, just constantly. That's how I just know when.
I like that too. I like that. See, like
I want to know where she's at like where she doesn't want it to, like at this level that she cannot hide.
You're just always trying to read her non-verbally. Dude, that makes so much sense. I never realized that I do that to women too. It's just like that's my favorite thing about like having a girlfriend. It's just like constantly just like watching her rock around and trying to figure out what she's thinking. Like, I just love that shit. When I could just ask, but at the same time, it's just like, I don't always like to constantly talk. Like, I'm trying to be a better listener, goddammit. So, like, if you want to tell me something, feel free to tell me. But if you're not going to say nothing, I'm gonna just like looking at you. I'm always flirting.
What did you think? I feel like I was going to say,
I thought you were 1 in 5.
Physical touch and...
you were physical touch
and affirmation and physical touch.
Yeah, you had this, like, words of affirmation mixed in with quality time. Like, you want both of those things to merge. Like, if you're spending quality time together, you would like to talk as well.
No, yeah. But, I think I was definitely going to say acts of service for you, because I know you, like... There will be times when you'll be working and, like, super busy, and I just brought you avocado toast, and you were just, like, so
bomb,
happy.
by the way.
And so I think
but yeah, it makes like sometimes I'm just used to being busy, so a lot of times I make myself feel busier than I really am. So it comes a time of like, am I actually busy or am I just like in this anxious state of I feel like I should be doing something?
Do you feel like it's a vicious cycle, but you make yourself more busy because
no,
you're anxious?
I've actually been like, well, not in my eyes. I've been able to kind of stop it.
Stop being busy?
Well, not stop being busy, but stop this like negative kind of reaction to it. Or I've changed it to like I love being busy. It shows that like I'm going for something.
Right.
I'm not like just slowing down. But like to me it doesn't make me stressed. It just makes me like I just want to keep going. And so like sometimes my mind is super focused, and that's when like I'll be having this like super crazy train of thoughts throughout the day, and it's just like this random like beam of positive information just like constantly being streamed into my head.
How do you know when you need to stop being busy?
He doesn't.
No, I do. No, that's the thing I do. I know when I should relax.
Yeah.
Because I've now just been really just schedule based. I've been like dictating a certain amount of time to something, and I've been trying to then like when I know I don't have anything specific, I either kind of go along the lines of what can I do in this moment to better myself, to help myself now and obviously like in the future.
Yeah.
Or is this like a moment that I can actually like slow down? Obviously if it comes down to like I haven't had one of those I should slow down moments in like a couple of days.
Yeah.
I purposely take a big like a section out of my day. That's why like out of my days. But that's why Sundays for me are very relaxation, meditation, like reading kind of days, because that's what I'd like to do when I don't have anything to do. It's like my little like thing on the side.
So you've been reading? Is there anything specific you've been reading lately?
I don't know what you're talking about. You've been falling asleep every time I go to read.
That's not true.
Like an old married couple. It's so cute.
So the thing is, and this is why I'm thinking words of affirmation, is because if I go in a room to read a book, Annalise will come in the room throughout multiple times and be like, I don't want to say a distraction, but like I get distracted. So she's just doing what she, is doing as a loving girlfriend, and I get distracted by it. And
that's the point, though.
Yeah, yes and no. Sometimes, like I said, I want to get something accomplished.
The whole reason you loved her is because she makes you distracted.
No.
Yeah.
She's
the distraction you want.
No, I don't like to view her as a distraction.
It's called a compliment if it's a distraction you want. She compliments your life.
She does compliment my life, but
she makes your life better.
Yeah, no,
she does.
No,
she totally does.
I love you so much.
Beautiful.
She does.
Spiritistic shit.
But that's what I'm saying. Like when it comes to like, what was number 4? I forgot the exact title.
Acts of service.
Acts of service. When it comes to that, it just shows like, hey, I was thinking about you and knew that this would benefit you right now, and I want to make your life, more beneficial.
I think all 5 are great testaments to love, for sure.
I feel like you
should learn to appreciate all of them.
5, yeah.
If you can master appreciating all 5 love languages, like you won't have problems in your relationships because you'll learn how to appreciate people, and you'll also learn what other people need to feel appreciated. Because when people feel appreciated, they become appreciative. It's just like when someone doesn't feel appreciated because no one understands them.
Yeah.
Like it's when we get all sort of bleh and in ourselves, and our homes like no one understands me. Like that's how I felt in middle school. It was great. But at the same time, it's just like, yeah, if you can really just understand what those 5 love languages are, and you can sort of, and it takes a minute to actually, like, you can't just look at somebody and know their love language.
Yeah.
You can, you have to be around somebody, you either have to watch their actions long enough to, like, watch how they react to certain things, or you have to, like, just talk to them and just understand who they are as people. And, like, I think that's where we get caught up, because if we actually talk to each other, most people become friends. For the most part, like they can agree to disagree, but they're not going to hate somebody if they've had a long enough conversation with them, because just like hate sort of derives from the place of where like you don't understand them and you don't want to, so you don't give the chance. But yeah, it's like the love languages are interesting. Mine are definitely physical touch and quality time. I don't know. It's like I don't know. I feel like it's always just been like hold me and tell me I'm pretty. I like it. It's nice. It's nice. You don't have to tell me I'm pretty. Just pet my beard and say hey there. How you doing?
Diesel can do that for you. We can train Diesel to do that.
Diesel hasn't been paying any attention to me because he's so focused on his goddamn shadow. Because he's scared of his ears in the limelight.
Yeah.
It's a problem, but we don't talk about him. He's in therapy.
My dog can see ghosts or astral beings or light fixtures. I don't know. He's into laser pointers. It means something.
Every single
all
thing.
dogs and cats are in the
Do you think?
Never mind, not
no,
all.
but his is more than laser pointers. His is like reflections, like when
Oh,
there's
yeah,
like a
light
shining, like any
reflections.
light source, like whether it's just like, great example, even if there's like a tree with a bunch of leaves and like the shadow that it casts is a bunch of, it's like dark with a bunch of like white spots in between where like the sunbeams are kind of shining through, and let's say like a wind comes and it changes all those like patterns on the floor, he goes ballistic.
Yeah.
He's like everywhere on that.
He's always tripping.
Yeah, it's just the changing of different lights. Same thing, shadows. When shadows like overlap and it forms like a darker shadow.
What do you think he's thinking in that moment? Like,
I think he's chasing something. I don't know. I mean,
like,
that's what the dogs do.
People will write
Really
like
interesting.
yeah, like science will write it off as just some like reaction to a stimuli, but like those little turds have conscious thought. Like they're aware of what they're doing, and so like I just wonder what in Diesel's head and all dogs' heads, like what are the conscious thoughts they're thinking when they see those light patterns changing, and why do they gotta get it?
No,
you know what I mean?
Ooh, pretty.
Yeah. So the way that I oh jeez, now I lost it.
Cause like when he sees a light, he'll go full schizo on it. He's like, it's real. Like you're gonna fucking get it, man. I go, holy shit, Diesel.
I can't think of what I was gonna say.
Where is it?
My boss told me that I sound like a half surfer dude, half Buddhist. Whenever I say because I'm literally like and then I'll like keep going.
It's a pretty good compliment.
But it's so funny because your ums are long. You'll be like and then go right back into what you're saying, but it's so long, but it's almost like become part of your natural talking, so I don't even notice it anymore.
I think it soothes me subconsciously.
Yeah, except for like when it's in a message and like it's extra long. Sometimes I'll be like
message extra long, and that's why I like texting. Yeah, I can just say what I need to say.
Because I just hear the and I'm like, this is normal for me now to hear, but then I'll hear an extra long one occasionally. I'll be like, oh my god.
Question: isn't texting weird? Like, texting's not weird to us because we've been doing it for most of our lives. But like before, people had to actually
weird. I think it's just a different form of.
Sure. But I think weird means different.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so it is weird, but like it's normalized. It's a normalized thing to us because like we didn't grow up. Like when we actually started like conversating and really communicating with people, like the internet was there.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like before that, like people had to talk to each other. They had to do this. Like we're sitting here doing a podcast.
I think it just caused them to force to only talk to certain people, and now is when you have so much freedom to talk to anybody. Some people are like, I choose that freedom to not want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And like people view it completely differently. So it's just almost like, in terms of texting, it's the new age. Like I get to pick essentially who my friends are.
Yeah. Well,
and it's that level of freedom.
What's so weird is like we actually can't really speak on this because like we weren't alive in the 70s and 80s before like the texting and everything and like big email stuff. So like I would really like to talk. Like if anybody listening is like grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and like you knew what it was like before texting and actually having to call and talk to people and have conversations, like how was human confrontation in your perspective growing up compared to how we have it today? I would really be interested to know that. What are you doing?
Please don't do that.
Don't kick the mic. It's fragile.
Don't put your toes on the microphone.
Whatever.
Step off.
No, yeah, I think
Put
texting
my mouth on there.
texting is terrible because you can't tell someone's tone from a text message. So there are so many miscommunications because someone will say something in a text message that someone else could read in a negative tone and be like, wow, this was totally meant to be like a sassy text. But then the person will be like, no, bro, like that's just how I talk. You just can't tell my tone. So I think texting leads to so many terrible miscommunications.
What does it lead
that
you
way.
to being able to adapt your tone through your texting? Like just using well punctuated sort of mannerism. Like it isn't the same. It's not the same. Like it's not the same as actually having a physical conversation. So like we couldn't text this podcast. Like no, because like we have to be here in the moment and you have to like feel the energy of the person. And just like it takes some real sort of reading skill and knowing the person you're talking to like hear them through a text message. Like
there's
you can hear her through a text message for sure. Like,
not all the time though, and that's kind of weird because sometimes I'll be like, why is
this
energy like so
sassy?
weird? You're like, why is it so like such a sassy comment? She was like, oh no, like
it literally wasn't.
she's just not punctuating.
No,
Right?
exactly.
It's literally punctual. It's also because there's a difference between like
That's what punctuation is important.
I'm gonna be home in an hour.
Yeah.
Someone says I'm gonna be home in an hour, and you text back, okay, like okay, great, see you in an hour, or okay, like okay, why aren't you gonna be home sooner? You know what I mean? Like just typing okay, you have no idea what their tone is. I will text things to
Okay
people.
is a hard one. Just okay.
But I'll text
K
things
is
to
mad.
people, and they'll be like, why are you so mad? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I'm texting how I would normally talk right now, but for some reason my texts always come off as like pissy, and I don't understand why.
Well, the thing is, like, you didn't come off as pissy. The person who perceived it thought it was pissy because, like, that's what you texted, like, the regular just okay. It can have such universal meaning across the board that, like, if they were considering your feelings, they're like, I don't know how she feels in this moment. And it's why, like, you need to, especially with texting, you need to learn how to, like, address the person, not in a way that, like, are you mad? But more so, like, how do you like to spell the word okay? Because okay can mean a lot of things. And I'm just curious, like, if that's the way you spell it. Like, you can just, like, circumvent the sort of thing and just be like, I don't really understand the meaning of okay. Like, have a conversation about okay like we're having now. Like, let that be the conversation rather than be like, are you mad at me? You know what I mean? Like, just try to understand.
Just, like, because I think Diego and I did talk about something like this at one point, and I literally said, like, I don't like when you say facts. Like, F-A-X, remember? And I was like, I hate when you say facts because it makes me feel like it was just, like, facts. Like, not, like, unenthusiastic.
Just one of those things.
Just facts.
Yeah.
But so that's why, what did you change it to? You changed it to, like...
Oh my, that was some super weird, like...
It was, like...
I actually saved it because I knew it was going to come
I
up.
like when you say facts, though.
But I don't... But see, that's the thing is, like, we had to have this conversation where he's like... Facts to me is literally just like, I acknowledge what you said, like, yeah, facts, but I'm like, okay, so that's good to know because before I thought facts was just like a super lame, unresponsive, just, yeah, facts, bro. Like, I don't know, but so even just having that small conversation, like, cleared up a lot.
Well, I think you have way more intimate conversations with him than any of us do. Yeah. So, like, getting the response facts more than a couple times, I can see how it can get in your head.
Yeah, because I'm just
like, all right.
But
But to me, I see Diego like twice a week, so when he says facts to me, I'm just like, right on.
Yeah,
cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
I haven't had to hear it for 8 straight months. It's fine.
It's just, I don't know. I don't even know if it's just punctuation.
Nothing on you, Diego. Fucking be you, bro.
I'm always 100% unapologetically me.
But
that's beautiful.
Back to what you were saying though about like the person who read it. If I text something that's like something I normally say, like, hey, what's up? If the person reading it is already in a negative mindset, they're going to read it negatively. If they're already in a positive mindset, they're going to read it positively. So at the end of the day, it's not that I have to fix my texting. It's that they have to fix their mood.
A conversation, I believe, is 50-50. So there's a balance of, I perceive this negative this negative vibe from how you spoke. Yes, it obviously is up to me to be like, oh, I got a negative vibe. Like, why did I get a negative vibe? But there's also a difference in saying like a realization of, oh, I felt a negative kind of sense when spoken to.
Yeah.
Versus projecting your own negativity onto something that somebody says.
Mm-hmm.
So. And same, one is how you choose to react, and one is just how you perceive the situation.
Right.
So if you just choose to perceive the situation, there's some validity there.
Yeah.
Versus if you choose to react, most people react with the same energy backwards. But if you just take like a conscious second to like realize like, oh hey, my body now feels this after you said that thing. Yes, that's one part, but also the speaker is I don't want to say like to blame as well, but the other half of kind of that interaction, a conversation and transfer energy takes two beings. So
yeah,
if you guys understand.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying. Well, I had an interesting thought, like when you talked about like just being conscious, and it's just like there's a point by which you live consciously, and then there's a time in your life when you live unconsciously. Mm-hmm. Like I've had weeks in my life where like I haven't been really conscious that whole week. The week sort of flowed by, and I was sort of like in this place of some sort of cycle of mental thought, and like I spent the whole week just thinking about this one thing, and maybe I got to the answer, maybe I didn't, but at the same time, like it was conscious, but at the same time I was like down a rabbit hole. But like being conscious in your awareness and in your presence, like you're noticing everything happening around you, and you're like, oh, and like it just keeps you sort of in this like curious, newfound mindset where you're like, that's interesting, and you're applying things, you're doing things.
Your brain is growing, you're not looking in on itself.
Right, but there's growth both ways, that's the thing.
Exactly.
But what's interesting is like the thought that I had in my head was that like you can't ever escape the chaoticness of the universe. There's really no escaping. Like it's always going to be this chaotic mess because that's the nature of things. But
somewhere else in the universe, it's too peaceful. Right.
But then I think about like consciousness and unconsciousness, and then chaos and balance, and like how they sort of intertwine. And it's just I think like when you're in an unconscious mindset, you feel balanced in a chaotic world.
Yeah. When
you are conscious, you feel chaotic in a balanced world.
Yeah. Because
when you're conscious, you realize this is all a fine balance. Everything is balanced no matter the chaos in front of me. It's all balanced, and it's all going to 0, it's all going to 1 at the same time. And you're just like, okay, I get it. And that's why it's chaotic, because you realize that it's all just this one big balancing act, but you're aware of the chaos. And on the other side, when you're unconscious, like you're so sort of driven and focused in this straight line towards something, like you feel really focused, and you're like, okay, this is purpose. I'm feeling this. But everything in the world is happening around you, and you don't know what's going on. And that's chaotic, not because your life's not peaceful, but that like it's very dangerous to be unaware of what's happening around you. And like being so deep in your unconscious mind that you don't notice that, like it can be a crazy place, especially when you snap right back into consciousness and you're like, oh fuck, what have I been doing?
Yeah.
You know? What you doing over there?
And that's
I got lost in the Snapchat.
It happens.
But that same like realization, kind of just tying it all back together, is that when one of that realizations of what the fuck have I been doing, like, oh, I'm an adult, and then like that's one of those times where like that wave first hits and you hit that breakthrough level of where you kind of realize like the responsibility like in your hands and what's going on, and then sometimes like I said, you can dip back into being a child. A lot of adults kind of stay in the teen years area for a while. Yeah. But same thing, it's just when you choose to kind of change how you want to.
Well, and I think too, like that, like you can compare that conscious and subconscious sort of ways of being. Just like compare it to driving, And if you drive the same route every single day, and because I'm doing this because by experience, like me being a delivery driver right now, it's just like I drive a straight line every day for an hour a day, both ways. I drive just this straight line, and sometimes I don't even have to realize where I'm going because I know it's a straight line. As long as I know that I'm far enough ahead from the thing in front of me that's also moving, like I'm like, okay, like I don't really have to pay much attention. I do, but I don't. Like my body's paying attention, but like I'm living in this sort of subconscious place to where like I'm deep in thought, like whether it's with a podcast or a song or just thinking to myself, like I'm just deep in thought. I'm deep within myself. And the other way is like when the delivery truck stops and I gotta get out and start delivering packages. Like when that moment happens, I'm just consciously delivering packages. But when you deliver 150 stops a day, at stop 75, you're now subconscious again doing this, and it's just this process of repetition. Pattern and repetition will lead you into this subconscious, sort of unconscious way of being. And the longer you stay in a pattern and a repetition, the longer you're going to be in that place while the world is still happening around you.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important to do things that add variety to your life and to try new things. Because like a lot of people can even get in the pattern of waking up, eating a healthy breakfast, going to the gym, going to work, answering your emails, eating a healthy dinner, going to bed. Some would call that a healthy lifestyle, and it probably is for your body, but is it healthy for your mind? Because like, what if you're eating chicken and rice and broccoli for 7 days a week all year long? Yeah, you look great, but like, do you even know who you are? Do you even know where you are?
Yeah.
You've been doing the same thing over and over and over, and it's why you got to just. That's why I've tried to be in the mindset of welcoming chaos into my life, of just a little bit at a time. I don't want the whole world to burn down, but like I whenever a chaotic event approaches and comes upon me, I do my best to welcome that chaotic event so that I can understand it, and at the very least appreciate that at least it's a change to the mundane. And like the more you allow yourself to do that, the less mundane your life will be, and you're like, oh, like this is a very interesting experience that I've been living. Like you have to welcome a little bit of chaos into your life. Like you can't just push everything out.
Well, same thing. You experience what you fear. So.
You experience what you fear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, cause you are creating attention to that. You are increasing the energy given to this certain thing. So if like.
Is it all fear?
No. You as a you knowing yourself. You can tell when you are truly fearful of this event. And versus it's like something that's just like constantly like in the back of your mind.
Fear and anxiety pretty much go hand in hand.
Well, yeah.
Don't you think?
So yeah, exactly. But so like great example, like if you're afraid of clowns, if you see a clown billboard every single day, you're gonna not be scared of clowns anymore. You're gonna see them as a common thing.
Or you're gonna create a crazy story in your head and lose your shit.
Yep, exactly.
Because you'll start seeing clowns in your closet.
Yep. But no, yeah, so it's the same thing.
We don't talk about him no more.
Well, if you like always tell your friends, I'm scared of clowns, your friends are gonna do something and scare you with some clown related.
If they're good friends, they'll be like,
no, regardless if they're good friends, they're gonna like
they'll make fun of you, be like, quit being scared of clowns, pussy.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
At least as a guy, like that's.
100%.
I hope girls are like that too. But girls are so supportive of each other all the time. Guys are just like, quit being a bitch.
And then they hate each other like 20 seconds later.
They're fake supportive. That's the worst. They're fake supportive of each other. Like, oh, that's great.
So many women will be like, women support women, all that stuff, and then literally hate each other.
But it's all for the gram.
Hate each other. It's all for the
Happy
gram.
International Women's Day. It's about me.
No, they'll literally be like.
So if it's not for the gram, it's real.
No, they'll literally be like, women for women.
Yeah.
We support all women unless they disagree with you in any aspect of literally anything, and then you hate them.
I'd really be
only like women that think like you.
Can you please just dive into this on just let me know the sort of world of women's communication, because like
that's a whole other podcast, buddy.
Okay, we'll do one on that then. Yeah, we'll do a whole one on that. We'll just let Annalise talk about women.
It's just Annalise's time, and then we'll just call it that, and then it just goes.
That'll be the title of the episode. It'll be Annalise's time.
Yeah, it just goes off.
Annalise
This
talks
is
about
what it's
women.
like being a woman in America.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Lady talk, man, listen.
Lady talk, man.
Lady talk, man, question.
Man confused?
Man confused? Question mark?
Classic man.
Oh, jeez. We love this.
But I think that's why women love us, because men are always confused and women know everything. So, like, they're just like, I would like a little bit of confusion in my life, so they come find us. We know what's going on with ourselves, but, like, they don't know what's going on with us, so they just come around. But I can only speak for heterosexual males. I'm a cisgendered man, so.
Few and far between, Seth. Few and far between.
What are you talking about?
I know, I'm kidding. Twitter's full of cis white males' opinions.
Yeah. We got a lot of testosterone and we're mad. We eat hamburgers, damn it. I'll tell you what.
It's all about.
I try to be a peaceful man, but God, I love red meat. I know. Cows are like dogs, and they're friendly, and they're lovely, but they taste good. Can't deny that. They taste good.
Speaking of
Something about meat tastes good.
but not anything related to red meat.
It's like the iron, I guess. I don't know. Maybe like
lion's
blood.
mane mushrooms.
Could be a vampire. What?
What?
What about lions, man?
What about vampires?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay.
'Cause I like my steak medium.
Oh, I was saying
Medium rare.
lion's mane mushrooms. You can grill them up. And
Yeah.
they basically you grill all the water out of them and they taste like steak. So it's just like, and it's a really beneficial.
We'll have to have some
mushroom
lion's
for-
mane steak
yeah.
someday.
Well, for like you can eat lion's mane and like work out. And it's really good for like for that. It's it causes neurogenesis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I take
yeah.
lion's mane
Yeah, yeah.
supplements.
Okay, yeah.
I just never ate a lion mane steak.
Oh yeah, no, it's so good.
It's the most manly thing I've ever heard. It has
Yeah,
all
right?
the man
Mushroom
things in it.
steak.
Lion mane steak.
That's a true outdoorsman meal.
Yeah, right there.
When you know just the right mushrooms that you can throw on the skillet. And,
Yeah.
Actually, I guess that's almost all mushrooms.
Yeah. I miss eating
They're good
chicken
for-
of the. Have you ever had chicken of the woods or hen of the woods?
Oh, the
Sulfur shell mushrooms.
it's is it chicken of the yeah, and then there's
Yeah.
turkey tails.
Well, they're all the same thing.
Like
Like.
chicken of the no, yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
well, turkey tails are these smaller ones, but like silver shell can get these big, these chicken of the woods. Like, but you fry those, and like they literally taste like chicken.
Yeah.
They're so good. I miss those from good old Indiana, man.
Bring some. Tell your mom to mail some shrooms over.
I told her to mail me some moss because
Oh,
I'm
yeah, that's
making
right.
my vivariums again. I was like, Mom, I'm here in Colorado and it's all dry, everything. There's no moss, but you live in Kentucky. Kentucky is literally all moss. So it's just like, I need you to go take the family on a journey and go find as many different kinds of moss as you can
Send me a bucket.
and put it in bags and just send it in a flat rate box. I'm like, I need all this moss. I'm about to grow a moss garden in my house. It's about to be great. Whenever she goes and does it. If you're listening, I love you, Mom. Thank you.
I love you, Mom.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Gracias, mamacita.
Besos.
Where's Nick?
So he's deep in that writing assignment, bro.
I don't know.
He's
He's
gone.
doing his thing. He's in college.
He's in his own podcast in his head.
He's
That's
working
all that
hard.
matters.
He's working very hard for himself.
There's Diesel.
Let's see what he's doing. Hi there, buddy.
Diesel, are you an adult?
What are you doing, chunky
Diesel, do
monkey?
you consider yourself an adult?
He's like, I'm a grown up.
Ah! Well, he's still like.
Hello.
Nicola.
Nick, do you?
Welcome to
do
the
you-
podcast.
do you- oh my God, I cannot speak anymore.
You've been
Do you
drinking?
see yourself as an adult?
No.
Well, okay.
Why?
And I will never until I'm like 60, until I die.
Okay.
I don't think I will
Okay,
ever.
well-
I don't
But
want
that-
to
so that's-
embody myself as an adult.
All right, well, Nicholas,
So that-
go ahead.
I was gonna say but what do you view as an adult?
Yeah, that's the question of the episode. What
A
is an
trick?
adult?
A trick?
I think you
Being a
asked
trick?
this. This is the
A
thing.
trick.
Okay, how so?
What is an
Not saying
adult?
you're
We
so
are
right or
always-
wrong.
What is an adult? A trick? Is that what you said?
It's a trick.
Okay. How so? Explain.
We're
We've been ranting. Go
we're-
for it.
We're always growing as people, right?
Yeah.
We're always that person we're growing to become, and each person we become through our lives, we're always that person. That person is stuck inside of us. And we're growing up constantly, but being a grown up is kind of in my opinion, a societal thing to kind of hold us back. Because when people think grown up, what does society usually refer to? Oh, I gotta stop doing this and being happy so I can create life, even though I'm not happy with what I'm doing. So my influence is gonna be skewed.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I think it's just, we should view it as growing as people constantly, because like, we're all just people. We're not, like, we're sure we're children and adults, we can verify that, but I don't think we're supposed to attach it to society and the traits that we have to view as adulthood. Adulthood is, what I view it as is just like being responsible, spreading love, and having the strength to do what you actually want. And I think that's a big part of adulthood that I'm forming right now, is like having the strength to do what you want in your life and not letting outsiders get into it.
So that's what being
were
adult
talking
is.
about. Yeah. But
But you
it's
just
no,
said it's
I
a
think
trick.
what America, well, I said that wrong. Being an adult isn't a trick, but it's like what society has tried to implement into us, being an adult is a trick.
Oh, okay.
Being an adult is not giving a fuck and adapting to what you, so you can do what you love. It's not giving up and conforming, so you can like live this view created by the higher powers that is there to hold us back initially.
Yeah, the people that have more money than us. But like when you were talking about when you first started that, I just started to get this visualization in my head that when you talk about like the child is something that we grow up and around. Like I just think of like the seed, like a seed and like of a tree, and it's just like that's how a tree sort of works. It's like it starts as a seed, and as the seed turns into a tree, like it's really just the tree growing around the essence of that seed. Like the physical nature of the seed disappears, but everything that seed created sort of grows around it. And if you think of a tree as like you have this first sort of like root, stem, and every sort of seasonal pattern wherever it grows, it gains another layer of bark around it. And then it goes through another season, gains a layer of bark around it. And like we can think about that as like the same as the years of our lives, and we even count trees by their rings based on years, and it's just like, is that our perspective getting thrown on trees, or did we base our linear sense of time based on how the time of seasons function in trees? It's like, how was time created? Was time before seasons or seasons to create time?
That's what I was.
But that's gonna go wild. Hold on, let me finish my point real quick. Okay, so like we're growing up and around, and like we're just gaining these new layers of bark. But like every season, like there's different every season there's different weather patterns, and there's different ways of being that like beat the tree back and forth, and like etch the patterns of the tree in different ways, and the tree adapts slowly to each season, and then when it grows around it, it grows again to each season, and next thing you know is like the tree by the end of its life is fully grown and balanced out in this almost perfect sort of circular oval pattern. Like it has a beautiful pattern to it that's like we know is like now that we have studied mathematics, it's the golden ratio, it's the Fibonacci sequence, it's how it's all sort of playing together, but you have this unified shape that's so pleasing to the eye, and it's pleasing to the eye because it's balanced, and it's done that through series of time. But the weird thing is, like, since that tree hasn't fallen, it's had to keep that balance since the beginning, and it's just like that's why I love trees so much. It's like that's why I'm the weird loving hippie that I am, because I love trees. It's because trees have this beautiful way of always constantly adapting to nature. And it's only when a force of nature so great disturbs the balance of the tree by which it cannot heal that the tree falls down. And that's the same in our lives. Whether it's our heart stops or we get hit by a bus. It's just like the force of nature has to be strong enough to take away our pursuit of life.
Facts.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really crazy way to look at it. Wow. Keep growing, guys.
Keep growing.
Besos a todos.
What about tostados?
Besos a todos.
So since I just answered, what is like what have we been talking about?
We have been talking a lot about just what an adult means, and then sort of diving in. We dive into love languages too. Do you know what your love languages are?
So many.
Okay, so do you want me to give you the same rundown that I gave Annalise?
I like
5?
I like loyalty is a love language to me, and like in like the smallest, or like love language in a relationship or a friendship.
Describe loyalty to me. Like what does loyalty mean to you? Like if you're envisioning what loyalty feels
you're
like.
going to be there for me even when I'm going through hard times, as long as you know I'm putting my effort forward. And when you see I'm not putting my effort forward, you're quick to jump to care for me when you do notice it.
So what is it?
No matter the situation. Like if I'm down bad on booze, or my mom just died, or my uncle freaking randomly abused my mom, like on some crazy shit that never happened. But like if any things like that, when people aren't responsive to that, I notice their loyalty lacks. In my opinion, it's just like loyalty is being there for someone. No
is
matter
loyalty
what.
a responsibility or a choice?
It's a choice, dude. What the
Okay,
fuck?
acts of service.
You don't have to be loyal.
Acts of service.
But honestly, just like doing small things for them, and physical touch is probably my biggest one.
Yeah.
Like sex,
we weren't all
sex,
touched enough as kids, man.
Sex kind of comes after that, cause like I don't
or we're touched too much.
always
Weird.
feel like having sex, and like
Yeah.
some people like sex is the main thing. Sex is probably number 2, but like
Yeah.
just like physical touch, like hugging my partner and things like that.
I
and,
think
like,
sex
a
used to
kiss
be
on the cheek.
Yeah, sex used to be way bigger for me when I was younger and more like out of control with my like hormonal testosterone. But like now that I've like gotten a little bit older, like the more sentimental sort of like quality types of touches like are much more meaningful than the sexual act.
Honestly, just someone who's like vulnerable to like is part of loyalty.
Well,
Because
yeah.
like if you,
I don't think
for me,
I don't think vulnerable. I think it's more like honest. Because someone's vulnerable, they're just willing to be.
Well, if you're honest, you're being
well, like
vulnerable.
people,
Well, yeah,
people I
exactly,
expect
but
loyalty from. I have to be I said that wrong. Like I have to be vulnerable with them because like before I expect loyalty from them.
Yeah.
Because they have to know who I am to accept the
And that's the problem,
the burdens
expecting
that
loyalty.
come, the burdens that come with who I am, because we all have burdens that come with us.
Mm.
So I don't want to expect anything from them if they don't know the dark side of me.
Yeah.
Because if I was walking around lollygagging like I'm some preacher who's got no bad parts of him, I'd be lying.
Yeah. Well, if history does tell us anything, is those who expect loyalty are always betrayed. It's like, but you can't expect loyalty, but you also can't like not trust. Like trust and expectation have to be two separate things. Like you have to trust that someone's loyal to you because you have a mutual sort of relationship with them that you both feel that you are good for each other.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you expect loyalty from your people are your fucking subjects, like who died made you king, you know? Like you can't have expectations for people to be loyal to you. It's like people are loyal based on how you make them feel. So make people feel all right. You know, and it's sometimes it's not the worst thing in the world to make someone feel shitty when they're being shitty, because like sometimes that's what a true friend is. It's telling someone that they're being an ass and making them feel like they're being an ass, because that's how people change. Like if you tell someone they're an ass but they're an ass and they don't agree, like they're not going to change. But if someone is being an asshole and you're just like, hey, do you realize that you're being this way? Like, what do you think about this? Like, and they consciously realize they're being an asshole. That changes people, but you can't attack the shit out of them.
I kind of realized that in like past few times where I've had to confront friends about certain things, and one thing I realized that really helps with that is like writing out what you're gonna talk to them about before you decide to do it.
What?
You alright?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. But
I was hearing everything.
It's like halfway falling asleep.
yeah, I was like, that's good. But what was I saying?
I don't know. We got distracted by Annalise's smudged up face while she's falling asleep. Oh my gosh.
It's late.
What time is it?
Late today.
Shit, my timer's still on. What were you saying? What's going on over there, bro?
That was literally the massage thing.
Jesus Christ.
That was literally
What did we say at the beginning? No farting and we have to start over. Alright guys, we're starting over.
Yeah, I thought it was girls don't poop till they're married.
No, that's... No,
Only 50% true.
Only
Only
50%
what?
true. Only half the girls don't poop till they're married. Some girls poop from the start, and it's why it makes us confused. Because we know there's some girls that don't poop, and we're going to find out. I don't know. But we were just talking about what is adulting, man, and we talked about, you know, being kids. Growing up.
There's so many different forms of adulting, though.
Yeah, we touched
Like
on
there's
that.
adulting with kids. There's like having kids. There's adulting with dogs. There's adulting with being a single adult who works on a fucking ship. Like everyone's adulting experience is different.
Adult's a shitty word. We're all just people.
It's such a shitty word.
We're all just people. Like people's the best term to call us. We're just people. What's the
Diesel.
What's the hey? Can you look up what the root word of people is? Like where the word people came from? 'Cause I'm curious to know. I like looking up the root words of stuff. Like,
but
sometimes it comes Latin, sometimes it's a story.
When you're talking about loyalty, right?
Yeah, loyalty. I think it's what
I mean,
we're
you
on.
should always as a person be ready for like not look. You shouldn't look out for it because that'll hinder you as life. But you should always ready for someone to totally shit on the loyalty that they've always shown you too. Because like I went through that when I was growing up. Like my childhood friend from before I could. Like many people, it's very common. Like that didn't he chose popularity over like true friendship. You know.
Yeah.
And that isn't loyalty. And I had never thought that I grew up thinking like, oh, these bonds aren't gonna break. I never thought of that, you know.
Right.
And that's when I really like, as even at a young age, was like loyalty, and like I became very selective of who I brought around me after that friend did that to me. And it was multiple occasions that I had to forgive him for his poor actions.
Yeah.
But
Loyalty is tricky because it's one thing if like as you grow up, like your bonds, things happen, whatever. But like I think with loyalty, it's really tricky when someone specifically says, "I will not do this thing to hurt you,"
yes.
and then do that exact thing that you trusted they wouldn't, and so it's not so much loyalty in like a cheating aspect or anything like that, but it's just breaking that trust.
No matter what the action is.
Yeah, and it's literally like, it doesn't matter what the action is, but if they said, I will not do this specific thing to hurt you, and then turn around and do that exact thing, how are you supposed to trust
you're
their
right.
loyalty?
Well,
I
and
think
then
that's why.
Now and
no,
in
you're
the
good.
future.
That makes it.
Go.
That just makes an interesting question for like how the human psyche works, because we all have that capacity within us. It's like when somebody tells us not to do something, the more we want to do it. It's like this weird sort of parallel universe, like like the call of the void, when you're like sitting on the edge of the cliff and you're like, I could jump off this cliff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's the call of the void.
Yeah.
But like in the other way, it's like the call of the void is like I promised that I wouldn't do this thing and someone told me not to do it. So there's this weird space in my head that has to exist that says you could still do this thing. And it's just like, you got to be careful not to dive into the fact that like, I want to do that thing even though I promised I wouldn't, because that'll leave you conflicted. And so it's like, if you're going to make someone a promise, you might as well, if you're going to be honest and stick to your promises, you might as well just put that thing somewhere where it's hard to find.
We need to stop, like, in friendships, like, people, personally, like, I'm gonna stop doing it, is, like, giving fucking absolutes. Because, like, what we're talking about is, like, a pattern. It's so stupid, if you think about it. True. It's so fucking dumb. Why is there not a situation where your morals can get skewed because you fucked up? Why do we always claim that's not gonna happen? That is gonna happen.
We have no idea what kind of situations are gonna come upon us in our lives.
It's a culture. It's like, I'm never gonna cheat on you. I'm never gonna flirt with someone while I'm drunk and out at the bar. I'm never gonna do this. And it's like, so many of these things seem to happen early on in the relationship. Like, early on. I'm not saying they're right, but I think literally, like we were saying, like our words earlier, like, you should say, I'm gonna try my best not to do this.
I completely 100% disagree.
I knew you would.
Because it's just like, to me, but
how am I gonna absolutely not hurt you?
Relationships are different from friendships, because in a relationship there's that different level of connect. I think, like in an intimate relationship, there's that different level of connect where if someone says to you, I'm gonna try my best not to do this, go find someone else. That's fine. But because for me, if like,
how do you know you're not gonna do something?
Because that's that discipline.
It's a self-discipline. It is. Yeah. It's being
able to control yourself. If you don't have
okay. There's certain things like you can't say.
Yourself,
I agree.
Don't be in a relationship.
You can't say like, I'm gonna try not to cheat on you because that's gonna fuck someone's head up. But like, even the simple things are why people break up. Like, you said this. And you said you would never act like this. You see how you act like this and you say you don't. Like,
you hold it against somebody from something that they made.
People talk about that stuff like really early on. And I think we should just experience each other more.
Okay, like, well, here's the interesting thing.
Not multiple partners, but like each other before we make promises.
Right. Both of you are coming from a place of equally right perspectives. Because what was so interesting about what you were saying and what you were saying is that, like, the view that you sort of had is the same kind of view that's sort of seen in the sort of polyamorous lifestyle. Is that, like, we are these creatures that are free beings that have interests and desires, and we should be able to follow those desires.
If you want to
right.
put me in
if
that
you want to
category,
experience
though,
life,
I was not necessarily polyamorous, but like I was like, I started dating this girl after my serious relationship, and she was like, I kind of want to label you as like my man, but I want to fuck other people, and I was like, I just don't care.
Right.
But
right.
because I wasn't like as emotionally attached to her as she was to me, and it only lasted 2 weeks because like she realized I didn't give a fuck because it was polyamorous. I don't know if that ties it into my view, but it was like the fact that she wanted to fuck me and I knew that she was getting with other guys made me not care about her, but she didn't understand why I didn't care about her while she was getting with other guys.
Right. And so from Annalise's perspective, when you have a relationship like that where you do sort of create this, and it calls it bad to call it like a contract, but it's sort of a mutual contract to hold each other sacred because
it's an agreement.
It's an agreement because it's a beautiful thing to hold it sacred because it's a stable platform and it's sort of a promise of like, hey, we're here for each other to keep each other stable, and we're a team, and we're dedicated to being this team. Like, there's a beautiful thing to that, and there's nothing wrong with being that. That's more the person that I am in my life. Like, I would rather have someone that I can grow with. But
so you're more into monogamy.
I'm more into monogamy, and I've
too.
I've looked at both perspectives, and I like the idea of both, and I appreciate people who have. I've met plenty of amazing people that are polyamorous types of people, and it's just like there's nothing wrong with your way of being.
No, let me ask you that. Like, if you feel comfortable talking about your friends or acquaintances that are polyamorous, do you feel the energy that you feel in their heart when they talk about it, and the situations that come up, so this is an interesting perspective on polyamorous lifestyle is like that is like contradictory to our monogamy is, do they love anybody?
Right.
If you love everybody, do you love anybody?
Or do you love yourself? Right.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting because is that
I'll let you go in a second. Is like why you look at these polyamorous relationships, they have so much jealousy issues, more problems it seems like.
Right.
But there's also like a trickle of them that are like they work perfectly. I think if you really understand each other's bond as a polyamorous relationship, it can work perfectly. Because I've seen it work perfectly for people who have families and all of that. I think there's a jealousy factor in it that has to do with unsolved trauma in some of them.
Well,
that ties things apart.
The way you have to see this is that monogamy and polyamory aren't two separate things. It exists on a spectrum. Because every relationship has its own bounds and limitations. You'll meet polyamorous people that I've met polyamorous people that have the most self-love and they have the most loving relationship with each other, but they're also completely open and honest, and they have sexual relations with other people, which is a beautiful thing. But I've also seen the other side that there's polyamorous relationships where like it doesn't seem like they really love themselves as much as they should. They have a lot of bad habits in their life. There's a little bit of self-loathing, it seems.
Yep.
And it's just like, yeah. And like that exists there too. But also in monogamy, you can have very open, communicative, monogamous relationships where you're like, oh, they love each other, they always talk to each other. But you can also have monogamous relationships where like it's all just a placate that they put out in front of the world when they act one way, but when they go home, they hate each other because they got walls everywhere and they can't be open and honest with each other because they're afraid that if I misstep here, they're gonna leave me and I'm gonna be alone. And it's just like the self-love can exist anywhere between the monogamy and polyamory spectrum. It's just like self-love is a personal trait, and it's just like either side you choose, and whether you choose polyamory or monogamy, like you're just gonna learn some different aspects of self-love that you wouldn't get from the other direction. Yep. And it's just like you gotta choose your lane and you gotta choose your path.
Have you been in both lanes before?
I've sort of lived in both ends. I was in like polyamory sort of for a bit, but like honestly, like polyamory is more just like being single and having some friends with benefits that are cool with you.
Like that's
basically what it exists as. And like, but there's some polyamorous people that I know that like they've chosen to have children together, and it's less of polyamory, more than it's just an open relationship because they have a primary partner and they have someone that they have a primary partner.
That's called swingers.
Yeah, well, people call them swingers. People call them open relationships. There's a bunch of different names for it. But like, there's nothing wrong with how they live. And like, the thing is, like, if it makes you happy and doesn't hurt anybody, that should be okay.
Realistically, like, if I divorce from my wife one day, if I have kids and I divorce from my wife, I'll probably just move to St. Pete.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
I feel like
St. Pete's the number one fucking.
I wish that like if I got married, you can make divorce illegal, because like I see marriage as a very well. The thing is, no. I think you should make divorce legal, because like I think if you're going, I think
disagree.
I don't think here. Let me explain myself.
I will.
I don't think we take the bond of marriage as seriously as we should. Because we don't. We just get married because we think we're supposed to.
It's just like
what the bond of marriage truly means is to say that like in marriage, if you look back in history, it is it's kind of flawed, because it was people being sold off for property, and it's like you're gonna marry him as it was a business transaction. But I think true deep marriage with a human being, like I just have this sort of crazy romantic sort of attraction to you that I can understand for the life of me, and it's just like it's not this rose-colored glasses that happened right when I met you, but it's just like I've known you for years, and you have always been by my side, and I love the way you think, I love the way you speak, I love the way you come about the world, I love the calmness that you bring to my life. That's the sort of person that you want to say that like I would love to just merge my soul with you. Yep. And that like whatever happens in this life, I will be with you until the fucking end, and I will die in front of you if I have to keep you protected. And like that's what marriage should be between people. But people don't see it like that.
Perspective for yourself.
Oh no, my wife's gonna be a lucky woman, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But she's just got to step forth, all right? But like if you have that person in your life and you really mean that, like that's a sacred bond that exists in the universe that you're not really gonna find fucking anywhere. And it's why it's such a magical experience, because it's such an isolated event that if you actually sort of find this mutual attraction of someone who wants to merge with you and make whole completely with you while still being growing, independent, loving people, like that's a beautiful thing. And I think that is what quantum entanglement really sort of entails. And I think that when you get that sort of feeling and you get that sort of perspective and you have that person, that's when that quantum entanglement sort of collides with one another. But a lot of people will argue that that thing doesn't exist and it's unrealistic in this world. But I think it's only unrealistic is if you feel that you can't achieve it. And that's why I wish that they would make marriage a much more serious thing. It's like I think if fucking marriage was like, I don't know, like they do in the Avatar or some shit, because I'm pretty sure like in the Avatar movies, like when you marry someone, like you're locked in, and if they die, you die. Like it's just how it works.
I don't like
you merged with them.
The laws of divorce either. I really think if like
divorce is just disgusting.
No,
man.
it's just like the laws. It's like, okay, this lady, or okay, it could be a guy or a girl, whoever like cheats on the person or like does the initial wronging of like that is like, why does the person who cheated get a payout and the other person doesn't sometimes? It's like, that should matter. Like,
divorce,
because it's still technically, it's illegal that you did that since you were binded together. And then these people who break these laws are like, at times it depends like what all the paperwork entails, receive checks. Yeah. While the other person did fucking nothing wrong.
Well, everything happens for economic gain. Like, divorce is created so that the government can get back a lot of the money that you earned from, like, not having a good relationship. But they want to be like, married, get married. Do it by law. Let us sign a paper for you so that when you want to get out of it, you have to file some more papers, and then you got to give some money back to us. Like, you have to work very hard and give us some of that money back. They always want that shit. Like, but at the same time, it's just like, what I think is funny is, like, if you made divorce illegal, like, let's play a fun hypothetical. Say that if you were to marry someone, to divorce them mean that it was punishable by death on both of you. Just play that hypothetical in your head. If that was the case, either no one would get married, or everyone would get married, and then they would just be like, all right, I'm with you, but we're cool with other people. And then just be in our open relationships. The world's just so divided because how we see the world. Like, some people have this romantic idea of the world. Some people see the world as like we're all just animals. Some people see it somewhere in between. That's also a spectrum. But it's just like, at the same time, it's just like, it's all just this subjective experience. And I think if you find somebody that sees your subjective experience in the same way and wants the same things, like, that's what's good for you. Mm-hmm. I think that's what pair bonding is for. And it's just like, that's why you should really get to know somebody before you choose to get in a very deep, long-term committed relationship with them, And is that like do you actually? It's not even that hard. It's not even that hard as long as both people are honest and they're like, what do you want from life? What do I want from life?
But that is what's hard.
That's what's hard because some people don't know what they want from life.
And some people don't know how to be honest. Like a lot of
it's hard.
Speaking from personal experience, like how are you supposed to be honest about the traumas that you don't even fucking understand?
Right.
Because you've never spoken about them to anyone. So and when they happened, no one reacted like it was that fucking crazy because the people around you, whenever it happened, didn't know either. And so you're, no matter what that is in your life, you're holding on to that. And any unresolved issue that you can't express is going to create fraction within your relationship. So when you come upon a new issue and there's things going on with that issue, whether it's with that person or with an aspect of life, there will be even if it's not really negative, some type of friction with that person. So like I feel like when you're in a relationship, and even if you're not, you always have to be in this place of like self-discovery and learning how to deal with these issues. Because if you're not able to be open about them, you won't be able to even attract those people. Yeah. So like, and that's what I ultimately realized. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that relates to what you said, but.
And I think we should just end it on that. That was really good.
Well, all right, man. Hey guys, thank you for coming to the second episode of Finding Home. If you liked everything,
cheers.
Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun shit. Comment down in the section below. Let us know what you think. Ask us questions. The more content you give us, the more we can talk about. And it'll be a good time. We still got a ton of questions in this bowl that we'll be pulling out over the next weeks, months, and however long we do this thing. But yeah.
Forever.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.
Love.
Much
love. Bye.